Today, coming out of Israel, the defense minister there saying today that Israel does not plan to permanently stay inside of Gaza. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he's also expressed this in the past, but not giving a timeline on how long Israel might remain in that area. Let's take a listen.
Israel will take any measures in order to destroy Hamas, but we have no intention to stay permanently in Gaza Strip.
We don't seek to govern Gaza. We don't seek to occupy it, but we seek to give it and us a better future in the entire Middle East. And that requires defeating Hamas. I've set goals. I didn't set a timetable because, it can take more time.
This lack of a timetable has raised some eyebrows where some people look at the situation and they say, okay, you think back to 2005. That is when Israel had military forces inside of Gaza. There were also Israeli settlers inside of Gaza. The prime minister at the time, Sharon, decided to pull everyone out. And they, in Israel's view, completely left the Gaza Strip, though Palestinians would say you never really left. You created a border and surrounded us in what they describe now as an open air prison. So what is the message here for the plan moving forward? Why is it that Israeli officials seem so hesitant to give any sort of clear timetable for what things might look like if they are successful in their primary goal of ridding the Gaza Strip of Hamas?
The message certainly is being received by the Palestinian side is that there is no promise of any kind of self-governance. I mean, I don't think that there's a two-state solution, which President Biden publicly says he supports, is even on the table, because I can only imagine that it would have to be many years before Israel would even come close to saying, yes, we're going to have, we're going to leave and we're not going to occupy the Gaza Strip, because Netanyahu also previously, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, said Hamas will never be able to govern under any form or any circumstances, and the Palestinian Authority will not be allowed to come in either, meaning that some political entity that currently doesn't even exist will have to be formed, and that raises a whole new level of questions about, and who's going to get to decide what they have? Will Israel just let the people choose for themselves? Will they dictate something? Would the Palestinians follow something if it was appointed by Israel? All of these talk about a long-term problem here, and there's no time schedule, which means they can't be held to any standards.
When you look at the relationship between the United States and Israel, President Biden and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, there's been a lot of reporting and a lot of talk about discussions that the U.S. president may be having behind the scenes with Netanyahu and trying to press him to behave in a certain way, while very publicly still making it clear that the United States supports Israel in terms of diplomacy as well as just their military operations here. But I'm curious, what would the implications be for the relationship between the United States and Israel if Israeli forces do not leave Gaza when this is over, when the U.S. still so publicly says they do support a two-state solution?
That's really going to come down to leadership in the White House, frankly, because we keep saying all those words publicly that, yes, we believe in a two-state solution. We want the rights of the Palestinian people to have their own future and their own hope. And we understand also simultaneously that Israel deserves to defend itself because of the terrorist attack on 10/7. All those things are true. But if they're not followed with actions, then it starts to be a problem for the United States, just to be honest. Because if Israel says we're going to be careful with the civilian casualties, and the U.S. says you have to be much more careful in the southern half now than into Khan Yunis. But if the actions don't follow, if Israel isn't more careful and the casualties continue to spike, then our credibility comes on the line, because then it looks like we have no say and that we'll just keep giving Israel what they want. And that undercuts our ability to hold other people accountable anywhere else in the world if we can't even have our ally do what we say. And that's going to be a problem for the United States going forward, and something that the president has to address.
Very quickly, Lieutenant Colonel, do you think that has already become a problem for the United States?
It has already, and our continuing to protect Israel in the UN Security Council, where we said we vetoed that ceasefire nomination, that got from even our allies. France even was really upset publicly about that, and certainly those in the Middle East and the other Arab allies of the United States are very unhappy with that, and that's again eroding our credibility and our ability to influence things, even for our own outcomes, and it's not moving in a good direction, I got to say.